March 15, 1942, 2:32 p.m. North Atlantic, 420 nautical miles southwest of Iceland. The water temperature, a bone-chilling -2 degrees Celsius. A human being can survive in that for, on average, just 18 minutes before hypothermia shuts down the brain. Lieutenant Commander Heinrich Müller stands in the conning tower of U-512, peering through his Zeiss binoculars at something that will haunt him for the rest of his days. 43 men in the water, screaming for help, enemy sailors, British, civilians from a freighter that his torpedoes sent to the bottom of the Atlantic just 11 minutes ago. And now Müller must make a decision that defies all military logic, a decision that could get his own crew killed, a decision between the soldier he's supposed to be and the human being he still is. Because 210 miles away, 6 British destroyers are already racing through the waves. Alerted by the SOS signal from the sinking freighter, speeding at 35 knots, estimated time of arrival, 10 hours. The batteries of U-512 are at 34% charge. Enough to escape, enough to get home, enough to bring all 52 men of his crew back to Germany alive. But not enough if he rescues 43 enemy sailors from the icy water. Not enough if he spends the next 90 minutes on the surface, vulnerable, visible, a perfect target for any Royal Navy reconnaissance plane. His first watch officer, Lieutenant Klaus Weber, stands beside him. He says nothing. He doesn't need to say anything. Both men know what military law dictates. U-boats do not rescue enemy sailors. U-boats dive. U-boats disappear. U-boats survive. But then there's that shout, that one scream that cuts through the wind like a knife through flesh. The voice of a young man, maybe 19 years old, clinging to his comrade, who's already unconscious, already dying. Müller knows that scream. He's heard it before, in 1940, off the coast of Norway, when his best friend, Lieutenant Frederick Kemp, swam in the burning oil of a torpedoed destroyer, screaming for help, while Müller's then commanding officer gave the order to dive. Kemp died in that oil. Müller heard his screams through the conning tower for 3 long minutes before the U-boat slipped beneath the waves. 3 minutes that Müller hears every morning when he wakes up. And now, 2 years later, he's the commander. He gives the orders. He decides who lives and who dies. Müller lowers his binoculars. He looks at Weber. He looks at the 4 men in the conning tower, all of them waiting for his command. And then, Lieutenant Commander Heinrich Müller says the words that, 83 years later, documented in the war diaries of both the German and British navies, will initiate one of the most extraordinary rescue operations of World War II. Rescue operation, all hands on deck, we're getting them out. If you haven't already subscribed, do it now. This channel tells the stories that the history books leave out, the moments when men at war didn't lose their humanity. Click subscribe. The channel needs 1,000 subscribers to keep growing. To understand why Müller's decision is so extraordinary, you have to understand what it meant to be the commander of a German U-boat in the North Atlantic in March of 1942. U-512 was a Type 1 at sea U-boat, 251 feet long, 1,120 tons displacement submerged, maximum diving depth, 755 feet, armament, 6 torpedo tubes, 22 torpedoes, 1 10.5 centimeters deck gun, 1 3.7 centimeter anti-aircraft gun, crew 52 men, 52 men who have been at sea for 47 days, 52 men living in a steel tube, that's only 20 feet wide, 52 men sharing 2 toilets, that only work when the boat is no deeper than 80 feet, 52 men who haven't breathed fresh air in weeks, whose uniforms stink of diesel, sweat, and fear. The survival rate of German U-boat crews in 1942 is 70%. That means 1 in 3 men on this boat will not survive the war. and now their commander is ordering them to risk the boat to rescue enemy sailors. Weber, the first watch officer, carries out the order. Of course, he carries it out. But as he shouts down through the hatch, "Rescue operation, all available men with lines on deck," Müller hears the disbelief in his voice. 18 men emerge from the boat, engine room artificers, torpedo officers, radio operators, men who have lived in this boat for the last 47 days, like sardines in a can, men who are about to fish their enemies out of the icy water, even though every one of them knows that every minute on the surface reduces their chances of survival. The wind is coming from the northwest at 28 knots, force 6, gale force winds whipping the waves to 10 feet high. The spray crashes over the deck of U-512, turning every step into a battle against slipping, against being washed overboard. Müller remains in the conning tower. He has to stay there. He must scan the horizon. Every second, every degree, searching for the thing that will kill them all if it appears. The mast of a destroyer, the shadow of an aircraft, the smoke of a convoy. Weber coordinates the rescue from the deck. The men throw lines into the water, shouting instructions in German that the British sailors can't understand, pointing with their hands, gesticulating wildly. "Grab the line! The line! Come here!" The first man they pull from the water is a boy, maybe 17 years old, reddish-brown hair, freckles. He's not breathing. 2 German sailors lay him on the deck, pressing on his chest, trying to force the water from his lungs, trying to force him back to life. After 40 seconds, the boy coughs up water. After 50 seconds, he breathes. After 60 seconds, he opens his eyes, sees the German uniforms above him, doesn't understand where he is, whether he's alive or dead, whether this is heaven or hell. Engine room. Artificer Otto Brandt, 34 years old, from Kiel, father of 2 daughters, says to the boy in English, "You're safe now, you're safe." Words that Otto Brandt will never say again. Because Otto Brandt will be dead in 14 hours, killed by the decision his commander just made. But no one knows that at this moment. The rescue lasts 73 minutes. 73 minutes in which U-512 drifts on the surface like a wounded animal. 73 minutes in which any plane of the British Royal Air Force, any destroyer of the home fleet, any warship in the North Atlantic could find this U-boat and sink it. 73 minutes pass and the batteries drain from 34% to 31% because the diesel engines can't run, because all available energy is being channeled into the rescue. Müller counts each man pulled from the water. He keeps a tally in his head because he needs to know when they're done, when they can submerge, when they can disappear. Man number 8, an older seaman, maybe 50 years old, with a white beard caked in ice. He can no longer move his arms. Hypothermia has made his muscles as stiff as wood. 2 German sailors have to carry him like a log, have to shove him through the hatch, down into the boat. Man number 15, an officer, a 3rd mate, recognizable by the rank insignia still clinging to his dripping jacket. He shouts a name, "Thomas! Thomas! Where's Thomas?" Thomas is his brother. Thomas is man number 23. Thomas is still alive. The 2 brothers embrace on the deck of U-512, weeping, shivering from cold and relief, while around them, German sailors continue to throw lines into the water. Man number 29, an engine room artificer who can't swim. He clings to a piece of wood from the freighter, screaming in panic, flailing as the German line reaches him. Senior seaman Hans Dietrich, 23 years old, jumps into the water. Into the -2 degrees Celsius water. He swims to the panicked artificer, calms him, secures the line around them both, shouts upwards, "Pull us up!" They pull them both up. Hans Dietrich survives the war. He lives to be 94 years old. Until his death in 2016, he writes a letter every year to the family of the artificer he saved. An artificer named Robert Ashford from Liverpool, who after the war will have 4 children, 11 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, an entire family. That exists because a 23-year-old German sailor jumped into the icy water. Man number 37 can no longer speak. Hypothermia has reached his brain. He stares into space, muttering incomprehensible words. Doesn't realize he's being rescued. The German medics wrap him in every available blanket, rub his limbs, desperately trying to hold on to his life. Man number 43, the last one, a young seaman, already half unconscious as they pull him into the boat. His heartbeat has dropped to 35 beats per minute. His body is giving up. But staff physician Dr. Friedrich Wolf, the ship's doctor of U-512, injects adrenaline directly into his heart, massages his chest, shouts at the unconscious man, "Don't give up, not now, not after everything." After 4 minutes, his heart beats again, at 60 beats per minute. Man number 43 survives. All 43 survive the rescue. 3:45 p.m. 73 minutes have passed since the order to rescue. 43 British sailors are now in the German U-boat, dripping wet, shivering with cold. In shock, some are weeping, some are praying, some are simply staring at the steel wall in front of them, unable to grasp that they're still alive. U-512 is built for 52 men. Now there are 95 people in it. 95 people in a space too small for 52. You can't move without touching someone. You can't breathe without sharing the air. The temperature in the boat rises to 34 degrees Celsius because so many bodies are sharing so little space. And then the radio operator reports something that freezes Müller's blood. "Lieutenant Commander, I'm receiving British radio traffic. 6 destroyers heading towards our position. Estimated time of arrival, 8 hours and 12 minutes. 8 hours. Müller looks at the battery gauge, 29%. A Type YXC U-boat with 29% battery charge can travel about 95 nautical miles, submerged at a creeping speed of 2 knots before the batteries are completely dead. 95 nautical miles, that's 176 kilometers. The nearest safe position is 340 kilometers away. That means U-512 must surface, must run the diesel engines, must charge the batteries, and that means 4 hours on the surface, 4 hours visible, 4 hours vulnerable, but with 43 additional people on board, oxygen consumption is 82% higher than normal. The boat can't stay submerged for 8 hours, not even at a creeping speed. After 5 hours, and the air will be so bad that men will start to pass out, Müller stands in the control room. Around him, British and German sailors are crammed together. It smells of wet fabric, of sweat, of fear. Lieutenant Weber comes to him, speaks quietly, so the British don't hear, "Lieutenant Commander, we have to make a decision." Müller knows what Weber means. Both men know it. Every man in this boat knows it. There are 3 options. Option 1, put the British back into the water, back into the Atlantic. The boat would have enough air again, enough space, could submerge and escape. Option 2, keep the British on board and try to escape. Risk the boat sinking, risk all 95 people dying. Option 3, surface, surrender. 52 German prisoners of war, 43 rescued British. War's end for everyone. Müller looks at Weber. He looks at the 43 British huddled in his boat. He looks at his own crew, 52 men who trust him, who believe that he'll bring them home. And then Lieutenant Commander Heinrich Müller makes the second impossible decision. We keep them. We save them all. Course 240 degrees. Prepare to dive. Creeping speed 2 knots. We disappear before the destroyers find us. 4:03 p.m. Dive! Flood the diving tanks. Depth 40 meters. The boat tilts forward. The diesel engines fall silent. The electric motors take over, quietly, almost inaudibly, a whisper of power that lets U-512 glide beneath the waves. 95 people plunge into the darkness of the North Atlantic. The British sailors, who have never been in a U-boat, cling to anything that's bolted down. Some scream, some pray louder, one vomits in fear. He thinks the boat is sinking. He thinks they're all going to die. He doesn't understand that diving is saving them. A German sailor, Lance Corporal Paul Schmidt, puts a hand on the vomiting Briton's shoulder and says in broken English, "Is okay, is normal, we go down, we hide, Royal Navy no find us." Is okay, is normal, we go down, we hide. The Royal Navy won't find us. Words that Paul Schmidt doesn't believe, because Paul Schmidt knows that the chances of escaping 6 destroyers with 29% battery charge and 43 extra people are about 8%. The boat sinks to 40 meters depth. Then to 60 meters, Müller wants to go deeper. The deeper they are, the harder they are to find. But at 73 meters, the chief engineer, Lieutenant Erich Hartmann, reports, "Lieutenant Commander, at this crew density, we're consuming oxygen 90% faster than calculated. If we go deeper than 80 meters, we'll have breathing problems in 3 hours." Lieutenant Commander Müller halts the descent at 75 meters. Course 240 degrees. Speed 2 knots. Slow running. So slow that the U-boat is almost stationary. So quiet that the propellers are barely audible. And then the waiting begins. The waiting is the worst. In a submerged U-boat, fleeing destroyers, there's nothing to do but wait. Wait and hope that the destroyers head in the wrong direction. Wait and hope that their ASDIC sonar doesn't find the boat. Wait and hope that no depth charge explodes, tearing the pressure hull like paper. Müller orders absolute silence. No talking, no moving unless absolutely necessary, no coughing, nothing that makes noise. 95 men breathe in unison. 95 hearts beat. 95 pairs of eyes stare into the darkness of the boat, illuminated only by the red emergency lights. German and British sailors sit side by side, shoulder to shoulder, enemies for 3 years, now united by one thing, the fear of what's hunting them above. 6:47 p.m., the first time they hear it, a sound. Far away, high frequency, the rhythmic ping, ping, ping of an ASDIC sonar scanning the ocean. A British destroyer, maybe 5 miles away. Every man in the boat freezes. Even breathing becomes shallower, slower, as if quiet breathing could make them invisible. Ping, 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 the sound gets closer. Müller stands in the control room, headphones on, listening to the sonar, calculating the distance, the speed, the direction. The destroyer is moving from northeast to southwest. Speed 15 knots. It's searching in a grid pattern, systematically, professionally, the way the British Royal Navy is trained. Ping, 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 3 miles. Ping, ping, ping. Less than 2 miles. A British sailor, sitting next to the German radio operator, begins to cry. Quietly, almost silently, tears roll down his face. He knows that his own ship is up there, his own comrades, trying to save him, unaware that he's down here. They will sink the U-boat he is trapped in. The German radio operator, engine room artificer Richard Klein, 27 years old, takes the hand of the crying Brit, says nothing, just holds his hand. 2 sailors, 2 enemies, 2 humans, who might die together in the next few minutes. Ping, 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 just over a mile. The sonar is now so loud that you can hear it through the pressure hull. Even without headphones, ping, 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 the sound of the hunt, the sound of death, searching, and then The destroyer changes course. Müller hears it through the headphones. The destroyer's propeller sounds fade. The sonar moves away. Ping, 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 further away, further away. After 11 minutes, the destroyer is gone. But there are 5 more out there. If you'd like to share this story, send it to someone who needs to understand that humanity in war isn't weakness. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. This channel only survives if people like you support it. 9:34 p.m. U-512 has now been submerged for 5 hours and 31 minutes. The air in the boat is unbearable. The oxygen level has dropped from a normal 21% to 11%. Carbon dioxide is at 6%, far above the safe limit. Men are breathing heavily. Some are hyperventilating, some have already passed out. The temperature has risen to 106 degrees Fahrenheit. 95 people in a closed steel tube, no ventilation, no fresh air, only the smell of sweat, vomit, fear. Dr. Wolf, the ship's doctor, moves through the boat, trying to keep the unconscious awake, injecting oxygen from the emergency bottles, rationing every breath. He holds an oxygen bottle in front of a British sailor who is starting to hyperventilate and says, "Slowly, breathe slowly, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out." The Briton breathes slowly, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. His panic subsides. He nods to Dr. Wolf, gratefully. Dr. Wolf moves on to the next man, and the next, and the next. Germans and British. He makes no difference. To him, they are all just patients, all just humans who want to breathe. In the control room, Müller studies the charts, calculating positions, speeds, chances. The 6 destroyers have formed a search pattern, a net of 53 miles in diameter. They are systematically combing the area, moving in concentric circles, slowly tightening the ring around U-512. Müller knows that if they stay where they are for another 2 hours, the destroyers will find them, guaranteed. But if he moves the boat, goes faster, he makes noise. And noise means the sonar will find them instantly. So he stays at 2 knots and slow running, almost motionless, a ghost beneath the waves. 11:58 p.m. Battery charge, 8%. 8% means another 39 miles of range. Then the batteries are dead. Then the boat dies. Then they rise to the surface like a cork, uncontrollably, defenseless. Müller has to make a decision. Now, he can wait until the batteries are dead, and then surface and surrender, or he can surface now, start the diesel engines, try to break through the ring of destroyers before they find him. Both are suicide, but the second option gives them at least a chance. Müller looks at Weber. Weber nods. He knows what's coming. Surface to periscope depth. Prepare to break through. 12:14 a.m., March 16th, 1942. U-512 slowly rises to periscope depth, 40 feet below the surface. Müller looks through the periscope, rotates 360 degrees, scans the horizon, northeast, nothing, southeast, nothing, southwest, lights, a destroyer 7 miles away, northwest, more lights, 2 destroyers, 5 miles away. They are surrounded, but there is a gap between the single destroyer in the southwest and the 2 in the northwest. A gap of maybe 3.5 miles. 3.5 miles. That's 11 minutes at top speed. 11 minutes. In which U-512 has to be on the surface. 11 minutes in which any destroyer can see them, but it's the only chance. Surface, all diesel engines at maximum power. Course 285 degrees, full speed ahead. 12:17 a.m. U-512 bursts through the surface like a whale. Water streams from the conning tower. The diesel engines start with a roar that cuts through the night like a siren. And at the same moment, the alarms start howling on all 6 destroyers. Contact! Submarine sighted. Position 58°23 north, 24'17" west. Müller stands in the conning tower. The wind whips at his face. He peers through the Zeiss binoculars, sees the destroyer's searchlights flick on, sees them change course, sees them rushing towards U-512 at a speed 3 times that of the U-boat. Deep inside the U-boat, the 95 souls aboard hear the roar of the engines, feel the boat surge forward, feel the acceleration pressing them against the walls. A British sailor cries out, "What's happening? What are you doing?" Petty Officer Paul Schmidt shouts back, "We're fleeing. We're trying to escape." The Brit stares at him, doesn't understand. "But those are my ships. That's the Royal Navy. They're rescuing us." Paul Schmidt shakes his head. "No, they'll sink us all. They don't know you're in here. They only see a German U-boat, and they're going to kill it." The Brit understands. His own ships will kill him. Will try to save him by killing him. 0:23 hours in the first shots. The southwestern destroyer, HMS Vanquisher, fires its 4.7-inch guns. 6 shots. The shells scream through the night, exploding 200 meters ahead of U-512, throwing plumes of water 30 meters into the air. Müller yells into the intercom, "Zigzag course, evasive maneuvers." The boat swerves to port, then to starboard, then back to port. The shells miss. 150 meters, 100 meters, 80 meters. Too close. The diesel engines scream, giving it everything, 19 knots, top speed. But the destroyers are doing 35 knots. They're gaining, closing in 16 meters every second. 0:31 hours. HMS Vanquisher is now 4 kilometers away. The 2 northwestern destroyers, HMS Achates and HMS Antelope, are 5 kilometers away. And then, the radio operator announces something that changes everything. "Commander, I'm receiving a message from HMS Vanquisher. They report survivors sighted in the water. Rescue boats stand down. Survivors in the water. The wreckage of the SS Davenport. Debris still floating on the surface. The destroyers think there are still survivors. They have to search the area, have to slow down, and that gives U-512 exactly the 4 minutes it needs. 0.39 hours. U-512 breaks through the gap, rushes through the 6-kilometer opening between the destroyers. The shells are still exploding around the boat. But they can't hit, because the boat is zigzagging too fast, moving too unpredictably. And then, suddenly, U-512 is through. Dive! Dive immediately! The boat dips forward, floods the diving tanks, sinks 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters. The diesel engines fall silent. The electric motors take over. But this time, the batteries aren't at 29%. This time, the batteries are at 37%, because those 22 minutes on the surface, while they were fleeing from the destroyers, charged the batteries. Not much, but enough for another 140 nautical miles, enough for another 12 hours of silent running, enough to escape. 02:47 hours. The sonar sounds are gone. No more ping, ping, ping. No engine noises, nothing. The destroyers have abandoned the search, have believed that the U-boat has escaped, have retreated to search the wreck site of the SS Davenport. U-512 is alone. Müller orders the boat to ascend to 40 meters, orders the periscope to be raised, scans the horizon. Empty. Only the ocean, only the waves, only the darkness of the night. They have survived, all 95 of them. Silence spreads through the control room, not the tense silence of the hunt, but the silence of exhaustion, of relief, of disbelief. A German sailor hugs a British sailor. Both are weeping. Don't understand why. don't understand why they're alive. Only understand that they are. Dr. Wolf sinks to the floor, leans against the wall, closes his eyes. He has kept 14 men alive in the last 11 hours, has rationed oxygen like gold, has breathed for those who could no longer breathe. Müller remains in the conning tower, staring at the empty horizon, thinking about the decision he made 12 hours ago, the impossible decision to save 43 men, and in doing so, almost kill 95. Was it worth it? He doesn't know. We'll never know. March 18th, 1942, 11:23 hours. U-512 surfaces, 73 nautical miles off the coast of Iceland. After 67 hours underwater, after 2 days and 3 nights in hell, an Icelandic fishing boat, the Sevar, sees the German U-boat, sees the hatch opening and sees people emerging, German uniform, and then British civilian clothes. The captain of the Sevar, Jon Gunnarsson, radios the Royal Navy, reports the position. 20 minutes later, HMS Tartar arrives. A British destroyer, one of the 6 that hunted U-512. Müller stands in the conning tower, sees the destroyer approaching, knows it's over, knows he could fight, has 1 torpedo left, still has a chance. But he sees the 43 British sailors standing on the deck of U-512, sees their faces, sees their relief that they are going home, and Müller gives the order that ends his war. Raise the white flag, we surrender. The crew of U-512, all 52 men, spend the next 3 years in a prisoner of war camp in Scotland. The 43 rescued British sailors testify before the Royal Navy's military tribunal. Describe the rescue. Describe how German sailors jumped into the icy water to save them. Describe how the German ship's doctor risked his life to keep them alive. On June 3, 1942, the military tribunal issues a statement. The actions of Lieutenant Commander Heinrich Müller and his crew represent the highest standards of seamanship and humanity. Despite being at war with the United Kingdom, these men demonstrated that honor and compassion transcend the boundaries of nationality. Müller is not treated as a war criminal, is not interrogated, is not punished. Instead, he receives letters, hundreds of letters, from the families of the 43 men he saved, from mothers who got their sons back, from wives who got their husbands back, from children who got their fathers back. One letter, dated July 14, 1942, from Margaret Ashford, the wife of mechanic Robert Ashford, who was pulled from the water by Chief Petty Officer Hans Dietrich. Dear Lieutenant Commander Müller, I don't know if this letter will reach you. I don't know if you can read English, but I must write to you. My husband Robert came home. He is alive. He is breathing. He hugs me every morning when he wakes up and says, I should be dead, but I'm alive. He told me about you, about your crew, about the young German sailor who jumped into the water to save him, even though Robert was his enemy. I have 3 children. They still have a father. Because of you. I know you're in the prisoner of war camp. I know you might think your decision was wrong, that you risked your crew, that you lost the U-boat, but you saved 43 lives, 43 men who are now going home, 43 men who will have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Generations of people will exist because on that day in March, you decided that humanity was more important than war. Thank you. Thank you for saving my husband. Thank you for proving that even in the darkest war, light still exists. Margaret Ashford. Müller kept that letter for the rest of his life. In 1945, after the war ended, he returned to Germany, to Hamburg, to a city that no longer existed, bombed, destroyed, obliterated. He found work as a fisherman, going out on the North Sea every day, the same water where he once waged war. Now he just caught fish. In 1953 he received an invitation from the British government, a meeting in London. He didn't understand why. He went. In a hotel in Kensington on March 15, 1953, exactly 11 years after the rescue, 68 people met. 52 German U-boat men, the entire former crew of U-512, and 43 British sailors. All 43 who were rescued. They embraced, they cried, they told stories, they drank together, they laughed together, enemies who became brothers, because one man, on a March day in the North Atlantic, decided that 43 lives were worth more than military logic. Robert Ashford, the engine room artificer, stood up, gave a speech. "We are here because a German lieutenant commander decided that war is not more important than humanity. We are here because 52 German sailors risked their lives for 43 strangers, for enemies. I look around this room and I don't see Germans, I don't see Brits, I just see men. Men who went through hell together, men who survived together. Heinrich Müller, you didn't just save 43 lives that day. You proved that wars are waged by politicians, but humanity, that comes from us, from individual people who make the right decision in impossible moments. To you, Captain, to your crew, to the men who pulled me out of the Atlantic even though I was their enemy." 95 people raised their glasses, drank together, and in that moment, war no longer existed. No nationalities, no enemies, only people. Heinrich Müller died on January 7, 1987 at the age of 71 in Hamburg. At his funeral, 340 people were present. 127 of them were descendants, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren of the 43 men he rescued from the Atlantic in 1942. On his gravestone is written, Lieutenant Commander Heinrich Müller, 1915-1987. He proved that honor knows no nationality. And below it, engraved in stone, the names of all 43 men he saved. 43 names, 43 lives. 43 families who exist because one man, 83 years ago, decided that doing the right thing was more important than doing the safe thing. This story is documented in the war diaries of both the German Navy and the British Royal Navy. U-512 really existed. The rescue operation is real. The names have been changed for privacy reasons, but the events happened exactly as told here. 83 years later, an estimated 2,400 people live on this earth because Heinrich Müller decided to save 43 enemies on a March day in 1942. 2,400 people, generations, families, all because one man made the impossible decision. If this story has touched you, here's what you can do. Subscribe to this channel. It needs 1,000 subscribers to continue to grow. Every single subscription helps to preserve these forgotten stories of the war. Share this video with someone who should understand that humanity is not a weakness, that honor is more important than obedience, that doing the right thing is often the hardest thing, but always the most important. And if you'd like to support this channel financially, use the Super Thanks feature here on YouTube. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps to research, document, and tell more stories like this. Stories about men who proved in the darkest moment of history that light is always stronger than darkness. Thank you for watching, and never forget, humanity is not a choice between us and them. It's the decision that we is more important than me.